Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And welcome to our show today. It is Tuesday, October 13th, 2020, almost halfway through the month now, heading down to Halloween. Not that everybody's going to be getting out and trick-or-treating or partying. We have a lot to talk about today. And not only that, in our second hour, we're going to be having an interview with the authors of the book, The Contagion Myth, and that's Dr. Tom Cohen and Sally Morrell. And so that'll be in our second hour. Mike is in our control room, twiddling the dials, keeping us out of trouble, ready to answer the phone when you call on in, when we do open the phone lines, which I'm going to try and get to as quickly as we can. Obviously, day two of the confirmation hearings for Amy Coney Barrett is underway. They're in a little bit of a they were in a break now. They're just reconvening, and they're going to go into the evening here. And so far, the Republicans are talking Constitution and judicial process, and the Democrats aren't really asking as many questions so much as they're making statements. And they're on the attack, not just against Amy Coney Barrett, but again, mostly against Donald Trump, and they're talking about dark money and donors, and again they're pushing that whole Affordable Care Act. So it's intense here, and right now the questioning is back there, and again it's Obamacare and pre-existing conditions, and how that evil Donald Trump wanted to get rid of health care for Americans and just let them die, which of course is a silly statement for them to be making, but that's what they're pushing right now. And I don't think it so much has to do with the confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett. Is they're campaigning. They're basically out there using their allotted time on the microphone to try and sway more voters to the Democratic platform this November here. Meanwhile, feminists are freaking out over the idea that Amy Coney Barrett might sit on the Supreme Court. And they attacked her yesterday during the first day of the confirmation hearings. And they're attacking her for everything. They're attacking her for how many children she's had, with one going so far as to describe Barrett as a handmaid with a clown car vagina. And I don't know about you, but to me, this is very damaging to the Democrat brand. I can't imagine that people are watching what's going on and listening to this stuff and are really being sympathetic to the Democratic point of view. And we may see a surprise come November here. Meanwhile, Joe Biden came on out with a comment just yesterday that the 56% of Americans who say they're better off now than 4 years ago probably shouldn't vote for him, adding that they have memory problems. Okay, well, Joe, I don't think they're going to vote for you, and you shouldn't go around telling people you shouldn't vote for me anyway in the campaign here. Now, Trump is suggesting that Biden has dementia after he forgot Mitt Romney's name, and for the second time stated he's running for the Senate. This is a little scary that this guy made it all the way to the top of the Democratic process to become the Democratic nominee for president here. So Trump is out there saying Joe's only going to get worse, and I suspect he's right. There was an article out there suggesting that Biden may actually be in the first stages of Parkinson's disease. And along with the shakes, I don't know if you've been seeing the commercials on TV or not, but there's a medication out there because people with Parkinson's disease suffer hallucinations and delusions. Those are things that do not mix well with the Oval Office here. Now, Joe Biden has talked frequently about his early years in the civil rights movement, and he claims that he regularly attended a black church in Wilmington, Delaware, and unfortunately, none of the members of the church can remember him being there. To get back to the delusions I was just talking about, over in Ohio, Biden had another rally, and apparently it was in a used car lot, and hardly anybody showed up. So there was this picture that was taken of Biden giving a speech to a row of used cars. I think that was pretty cool here. Now, President Trump has responded to Nancy Pelosi, saying that he is incapable of being the president because he's mentally incapacitated. And Trump came on out saying that Nancy Pelosi couldn't pass a basic aptitude test. So that's, she's still trying to fire up this 25th Amendment and create this bipartisan committee to work with Vice President Pence to remove Donald Trump. I'm doubtful Pence is going to go along with it for the short amount of time remaining. I know he wants that Oval Office. Everybody ultimately does. But I think he's got a better shot at it sticking with Trump through a second term and then running, in the next election down in 2024 here. Now, Representative Doug Collins, getting on the issue of Pelosi's fitness to serve, has introduced a resolution to remove Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House. And he's basically out there saying that her unwillingness to abide by the Constitution, along with a lot of recent actions, call into question her mental fitness. And he does not want her in the line of succession to be president, because if the election is contested, or something were to happen to both Trump and Pence, Nancy Pelosi would become the president of the United States of America. And there are a great number of people, yours truly among them, who think that would be a bad thing here. Now, Kamala Harris out there in her campaign speechifying rather, wants to punish climate deniers. And you need to remember that when she was serving as California prosecutor and attorney general, she allegedly hid evidence that would have exonerated people wrongly accused and wound up sending them to jail. Apparently, some of them were held in jail longer than their sentences were supposed to be. But Harris is a believer in the climate change hoax, and she signed on to Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's country-ending Green New Deal. So it's another reason to not want her anywhere near the White House. Now, ABC is reporting that Biden and Harris will raise taxes on middle-income earners on day one. So pull out your tax forms and take a look at how much you had to pay, and keep that in mind when you make your decisions about voting this November 3rd here. Now, interestingly enough, over in Michigan, challenger John James, who's a Republican, is now within 1 point of the Democratic incumbent. And that may be very, very telling. That a lot of races are a lot tighter than we're being told by the corporate media. Now, of course, we're getting all these corporate medias that I saw one that said Biden has an 81% chance of winning the election, which brought back memories of the polls that said Hillary Clinton was going to sweep it back in 2016 here. And again, we're seeing more and more indications of a highly irregular election. Florida voting officials are saying that the Trump-Biden results might not be known on election night. And they're saying basically they don't have enough people, they don't have enough equipment, and they don't want to be wrong, supposedly. But they're saying that the results of the presidential election, they're not saying this is going to apply to senators or representatives or anything, but specifically Trump-Biden, the results will not be known in Florida on election night. Getting back to Michigan, Governor Whitmer is saying the state isn't prepared to tabulate votes on election day, and saying the results will not be definitive on election night. So it looks like the Democratic strategy here is to basically throw the election into chaos And the reason they're trying to keep Amy Coney Barrett from sitting on the Supreme Court is we could be winding up with another Gore versus Trump 2020. And so obviously they would want somebody other than Amy Coney Barrett, or a 4-4 court, which could potentially tie. And once again, we have Nancy Pelosi winding up as president of the United States of America. There is a story that surfaced that said the coup plotters against Donald Trump, when Russiagate failed, and all the rest of that wasn't working, that they actually considered simply stopping the inauguration and refusing to hand over power and authority to him. That would have been a coup d'etat in full view of the American public, which I don't think they would settle for at all. All righty, over in Texas, the appeals court is allowing the Texas governor to close multiple ballot drop-off sites. And in a ruling issued late yesterday, a federal appeals court upheld Governor Abbott's order that limited counties to one mail-in ballot drop-off location each. And this was ruled by a 3-judge panel of the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, all of them Trump appointees. And they rejected arguments from civil and voting rights groups. They claimed Abbott's order suppressed voting rights by making it harder to cast a ballot, particularly for elderly and disabled voters who are more likely to use the mail-in voting system. This election is a joke. It's already discredited in my mind. I don't care who wins. This election is discredited here. All righty, over in Georgia, some of the precincts saw long voting lines Monday. Voters reportedly turned out in record numbers. And my concern, some voters had to wait 6 hours or more to cast their ballots. My concern is when you have too long lines at voting locations, that in and of itself is a sign of voter suppression, because the hope is that voters that are having to wait in long lines, they'll have to leave to go to work, they have to leave to go to school, they'll just get tired of waiting, they get hungry, they have to go to the bathroom, and they will leave the voting line without having voted. So I'm very, very concerned about that as well. Over in Virginia, the Virginia Information Technology Agency reported that the voter registration website crashed on the last day to register before the election, and they determined that a cable near Route 10 in Chester, Virginia, had been mysteriously cut. This is just out of control here. All right, getting into other political news here. Donald Trump has tapped Judicial Watch's Tom Fitton to serve on a court oversight body in which he would have the authority to remove misbehaving judges. So that's a little bit of good news. Story coming on out of naturalnews.com. There's an interesting development concerning the Clinton family syndicate, if you will, and it suggests the Clinton Foundation colluded with the IRS to cheat the tax system out of $2.5 billion. Now, this came out of a Thomas Paine podcast. A federal judge pegged the IRS for illicit conduct in sheltering the Clinton Foundation from having to pay as much as $2.5 billion in unpaid federal back taxes. All right, ABC News has called Kyle Rittenhouse an alleged white supremacist without any evidence whatsoever. Kyle Rittenhouse has no ties to any extremism, according to the ADL. But ABC just went ahead and smeared him, and then they wonder why the American people are not trusting of the corporate media here. Another story, this one from Blacklisted News, and this gets back to the so-called kidnap attempt on Gretchen Whitmer. And according to the court affidavit, these 6 individuals in Michigan considered conducting a citizen's arrest on Whitmer for her intolerable actions against the Constitution to wreck the economy and shut down the state. And apparently the FBI had a confidential informant in there and tried to basically skew it to make it look like some kind of a terrorist plot, which we've seen the FBI do this time and time again. All righty. Regarding the California wildfires, yet another cause of the fires has surfaced in the media, the independent media. Was scarcely mentioned by 60 Minutes in their story on the California wildfires. And it had to do with the fact that aggressively putting out fires over the years built up this huge burden of brush. And the refusal to keep the fire breaks open to let the forest return to a pristine state was a primary reason these fires got completely out of control. Now, remember, yesterday we reported on how faulty equipment by PG&E may have sparked one of the larger fires, and the equipment has been seized for an investigation. All righty, getting on to COVID-19, and I'm glad I had time to get to this one. Ben Swan has a new video out. It's linked to the front of whatreallyhappened.com so you can watch it yourself. And he's reporting there's a new CDC study that finds that 70% of those who always wore a mask contracted COVID-19 14 days after exposure, compared to only 3.9% of those who never wore a mask. In other words, this CDC study is saying you're more likely to contract COVID-19 by wearing a mask than not wearing a mask. Now, that is an earth-shaking piece of news there, and may explain why the COVID-19 numbers are so much higher in the United States than in other countries. Apparently, new COVID-19 cases in the U.S. Jumped by 11% over 7 days, with infections spreading rapidly in the Midwest. We're certainly seeing that here. You know, we were sort of smug in the fact that COVID-19 was sort of leaving our little part of Indiana alone. That has now changed, and it's spreading through here like a brush fire. And of course, as you're already aware, Claire and I were exposed about 2 weeks ago, but fortunately, we've tested negative here. Okay, the New York Times is reporting that experts have genuine confidence that the pandemic will end far sooner than originally expected. I'm predicting right after the election, when it's no longer useful as a political tool here. Johnson & Johnson has had to halt their trials for their COVID-19 vaccine. Apparently, one of the subjects has developed a suspicious illness. They're not being very generous with details, saying that they want to have all the facts before they go public, but they have halted the vaccine trials. And this makes, another case where rushing these vaccines into trials has led to some problems here. Now, Facebook, leaping to the defense of the medical industrial complex, is now banning all ads questioning the safety of COVID-19 vaccines. And apparently, Mark Zuckerberg is tired of being hauled in front of Congress. And over the last few months, Facebook has done a complete 180 on its position about speech, particularly sensitive political speech. Zuckerberg has apparently been shaken from his non-interventionist approach by announcing Facebook would not accept new political ads during the last week of the campaign, and has just announced Facebook would crack down on Holocaust deniers on the platform. So Facebook's utility is not doing very well. Apparently, Twitter had to pay a fine for campaign finance violations because they did not report the revenues that they were getting from political ads. Turning to the international news, the U.S. is pushing Afghanistan to make a side deal with Pakistan that they hope is going to lead to an internal peace in Afghanistan. Been in there 19 going on 20 years. The U.S. wants to get out. Trump wants to get out. The American people want to get out. All right, we're going to take a break here for commercials. We're going to go ahead and open the phone lines, and we will be right back.
Hey gang, Patrick Slattery here with an important message that is pertinent to anyone who shops for groceries, eats food, or just has an inquisitive mind like myself. What I'm about to introduce you to is a segment of our food culture that has been kept so low profile to the American public that virtually no one is aware of how dominant it is on our refrigerator and cupboard shelves. What I'm talking about is the kosher certification industry and a new app, Koshertified, that delivers a comprehensive education on all aspects regarding this little-known practice. After reviewing this app, I found that it is useful for practically anyone who purchases food, regardless of their religious faith or identity. Its database of products not kosher certified is a win-win convenience for all food-conscious people. So why not check out the kosherquestion.com or click on the link at nationalbugle.com and see how modifying your grocery shopping with the Koshertified app can make a huge difference for your future.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Welcome to What Really Happened Radio. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. And now, set your eyes on the future and let's consider what really happened.
Welcome back to our show here. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443, and we're going to start with Al in Canada. Hello, Al. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Hi, Mike.
Hi.
Yesterday on the state-sponsored CBC website up here in Canada, they ran that story about Facebook censoring posts about Holocaust denial.
Yes.
I was commenting on that story a few times, and I was permanently banned.
Imagine my shock.
I know, seriously. So I don't know, like, which comment or answer to another comment got me banned, but just to give you a couple of examples, like they were spewing the 6 to 7 million thing. And I pointed out the fact that all these plaques have been downgraded, you know, and not only were there Jews, you know, there were a lot of other people.
Yes.
Somebody,
Gypsies, mentally retarded gays were thrown in there.
Yeah. And then someone pointed out the fact that, you know, about gas chambers and they were burning the bodies. And another comment I made specifically about the burning of the bodies was, I said, do you have any idea how labor intensive and how long it takes to do that, not to mention the resources that are needed? I believe back then they used coke, which is baked coal.
Yes.
That was another one. I said there was a war on. Where were all these resources coming from?
Yeah.
And, like a couple of people, the ones that weren't paid shills, they actually commented saying, you better watch what you're saying here. You're going to get banned. I said, I don't care. It just goes, it'll prove that this is all just nonsense. How can asking questions about an historical event be hate speech? Like up here in Canada, Mike, it's not like the United States. I mean, it just to get a comment through on the CBC, you have to jump through hoops because they have so many words that you cannot just say or post.
Yes.
It's ridiculous. So it didn't surprise me when all of a sudden the screen kind of flashed and I'm not logged in. I logged in and I've been permanently banned.
Yep.
Oh my God! How many times has that happened to you, Mike?
Not many, because I tend not to post other places than my own website. So, we've seen YouTube will downplay the numbers on our videos, but that's about it.
I know years ago, when you used to comment, I used to see your comments on some websites.
Yeah.
You used to talk about how you'd get kicked off, banned, get a suspension, whatever you want to call it, right?
That must have been the days when I was writing on Free Republic, because I did get kicked off of them, but that was a long time ago.
Oh yeah. I've been reading your site for almost got to be almost 20 years now, I guess, right?
Yeah. Well, you were there in the early days.
Yes. As a matter of fact, I was on what's that guy's name? That kook, Alex Jones. I found your website.
Be nice.
What, Alex Jones? Oh, the guy's stark raving mad. Come on, Mike. I mean, he proved it on Piers Morgan years ago.
All right.
I mean, you don't have to agree with me. I don't mind that. In my opinion, I think the guy's stark raving mad. It has nothing to do with his beliefs. It's just how he comes across. I mean, seriously, you can't, you just can't walk out on a stage in front of millions and millions of viewers and start losing your mind because you just lost. You've just lost.
Well, it depends on what he's trying to do. I mean, he may be trying to emulate Howard Stern and go the shock jock route, because Howard Stern built a huge following. I
wasn't one of them.
I wasn't either. I listened to a show a couple of times and I said, this is definitely not for me.
No, I prefer the way you do things. You just display the facts. There it is.
Yep. It's dull and it's boring. That's what I do.
Yep. Well, I mean, some people may think it's boring. There's no sensationalism or all that and all that jazz. But I prefer that sort of avenue. And especially some of these headlines, Mike. I mean, my good God, they're just disgusting.
Yes,
they're so misleading and everything else. It's clickbait, right?
Yeah, that's what it is. Is everybody's making money off the clicks and the ads and everything, and it's getting very intrusive here. I mean, I'm now getting advertising on my text messaging system on my iPhone. And I'm very upset about that. I don't know how to block it, but I wish I could. At least the new iPhone operating system tries to block calls it thinks are spam. And that's a real hip feature, and I'm really glad for that.
Yeah, I wouldn't know anything about that. I don't use a cell phone. Don't plan on ever using one.
Yeah.
Just because of what they do.
Well, I can separate anxiety if I'm too far away from my iPhone. So that's where we are. Anyway, listen. Going to have to let you go, Al. We got to take another break here for commercials. We got another caller waiting on the line, and we will be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
What would you say if I told you we have a new tool that will increase production and lower maintenance costs for your meat processing company? And it would pay for itself in just 6 weeks.
When pigs fly,
The new Ease Off Model Easy 4 replaces old spring-style carcass droppers and is faster, safer, and more reliable. The Ease Off lowers or lifts 1,000 pounds to or from your rail automatically using our remote control.
sounds expensive. Can I afford it?
Can you afford not to try the Ease Off? It installs fast with just 3 bolts in place of your current dropper. The effortless operation will reduce fatigue and injuries, speed up your line, eliminate downtime, and increase profit.
How can I order my Ease Off?
Go to easeoff.com, EAZEOFF.com, and hurry because we are offering $200 off on the new Easy 4 for a limited time. Easeoff.com. We make pigs fly. Cows too. Ease Off LLC, Summersville, Missouri, 417-932-6419.
Is your property a financial burden and causing you grief? Have you tried to sell but can't find buyers? Or are you just too busy to sell your property? Don't worry, we have the right solution for you. We buy properties as is, with cash, close in 30 days, and pay all closing costs. Our service is ideal for property owners who are in pre-foreclosure, have high-end repair costs, experiencing financial hardship, going through costly divorces, are relocating, need cash for retirement, suffering family loss, or have tax liens. Whatever your situation may be, we can help you sell your property and get the money you need. If you own a single-family home or multiple family units, call us for a free consultation at 888-910-1037. That's 888-910-1037. Or visit our website at cachingproperty.com. That's cachingproperty.com. Sell your property fast and leave all your worries behind.
Extend your life with Extendovite, a 7-herb combination made from garlic, cayenne, bilberry, hawthorn, ginkgo biloba, valerian, and milk thistle. Each herb was chosen for their abilities to help improve irregular heartbeats, chest pain, lower cholesterol, as well as normalize blood pressure and clean and strengthen arteries, plus much, much more. Doctors have taken people off of some or all of their pills just because they believe their patients got better while taking Extendovite. Get the dependability of Extendovite. Just see how you feel in 6 months. A 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid is only $69.95 plus shipping and handling. Call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Layla in Canada. Hello, Layla. Welcome back to the show. What's on your mind today?
Yeah, Mike, I hadn't intended to call in today, but when I heard Al talking about the CBC, I just had to. I remember as a child watching the CBC sitting next to my father, and it was run by Zionists, that particular elite. And they actually used to get away with things like, well, they're rattling their sabers again, as the lead line in the intro to a story. Mm-hmm. Then later on, when I was a reporter and I worked at the CBC 4 different times in 4 different newsrooms, mm-hmm. and it was a nightmare. I have never, after having worked in commercial enterprise in the U.S., where reporting really was fun and was responsive to the local viewers, they were so removed from the reality. 5 people would work on one story. They had 27 unions at the CBC.
Yes.
So, and people, many of them would sit around for hours with their legs up on the desk. Or at lunch, it was always at the media club across the street where they would all go drinking. And nobody ever hung around to watch the 6 o'clock news together. They would just do their little bit, and they were protected by their union. But the other thing I wanted to point out is one show that was extremely popular in Canada was once called The Journal. And the hostess was Barbara Frum, an Orthodox Jew. Frum means very traditional. Her son, David Frum, is working in the U.S., and he's an anti-Trumper, even though he's a conservative. His sister, another daughter of Barbara Frum, is in the Canadian Senate. Obvious why she was appointed there, since she never really served in any capacity. But Barbara Frum's husband was the bagman for the Liberal Party, which again was controlled by the Zionists. He fundraised extensively, and it basically set the tune for what became the Liberal Party, which also called itself the Natural Governing Party of Canada. So it held control for a long time, was very much linked to the Democrats in the U.S., and the national president of the Liberal Party, another CBC advocate, actually went down to the Democratic conventions, probably with money that was raised from membership. Then later, when I left the Liberal Party and joined the Republican Party, they were bringing up the Conservative Party, they were bringing up consultants from the Republican Party in the U.S. to instruct us on how to campaign. So Canada is basically an extension, a satellite of the U.S., but we just don't have voting rights. Although even the voting rights in the U.S. are of questionable value.
Yeah.
But anyway, I
days.
know the CBC is carried on some U.S. cable networks. Be aware of what you're watching when you watch it. Anyway, take care. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks an awful lot here. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Getting back to the international news here, fighting continues to rage in Yemen. Both sides are claiming to have inflicted heavy losses. And apparently, this is in the Jauf province where this is taking place. New clashes in Bishkek as Kyrgyzstan slips deeper into crisis. All right, I'm trying to get through a lot of this stuff real fast because we got guests here. All right, we're going to go back to the phones here to Peter in Los Angeles. Hello, Peter. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. Just wanted to pile on a little bit on what Layla just said about the Frums. David Frum, who is a hardcore neocon down here in the United States, was the author and coined the phrase of axis of evil, which is one of the actuating phrases that got us into all these wars back under George Bush.
Yes.
But I wanted to, in answer to the other gentleman who called about talking about the Holocaust, and I may have mentioned it before, but I spent quite a bit of time of being trained as a logistician. You know, if you've ever read The Guns of August, and about how all the train schedules and all the staff studies was that made it World War I to break out so almost unstoppable. But a lot of these staff, a lot of the Command and General Staff College are doing things like tonnages and port capacities and how many trains does it take to supply an armored corps of 3 divisions or something along those lines, and how many trucks and how long do you space out a column, an armored column, in order to use a road, and that's the kind of thing that they teach you. And one of the things that has I know I've talked before about, and I can go into great depth about the railroad, the Holocaust and the railroad capacities in Eastern Europe, and how even under the stress of bombing and round-the-clock bombing, and they have something called the transportation plan, and I can go on and on about that. But I want to also go on and say all this is based on a book by the fundamental part was there's a book by Raoul Wallenberg called The Destruction of European Jewry, which is the Holy Bible of the Holocaust. It's the original founding document, if you will.
Yes.
And they talk about the original 6 million, and then they add on that there was another 5 or even 6 million of non-Jews.
Yes.
In the original narrative. So now we're talking 12 million. And to give you an idea, in World War II, when the United States, a country of 135 million in World War II, mobilized 16 million men under arms with no bombing and none of that stuff. It took us from 1940, when we started to arm up, when the fall of France, it took us 2 or 3 years to build up even the training infrastructure to house the soldiers.
Yes.
Right? To train the soldiers, all the camps, the enormous camps, well, many of which are still around, right?
Yes.
But at any rate, think about doing that, and not only transporting these people against their will, gathering them up, getting them to a railhead, transporting them, but then having the infrastructure ready to receive them. 11 million people, and those are the people that they say died. There's
Yes.
more people that they claim didn't. Of course, they're still collecting. Some of them are still collecting benefits.
Yes.
But the enormous. Imagine the feeding, the building and construction involved, the infrastructure, the rail lines and road lines it would take to even support these massive things. We're talking about, if you've ever been, I know you've been to the Rose Bowl, 105,000 people will fit into the Rose Bowl.
Yes.
Well, if we're talking 11 million people, Mike, that's 11. That's like 110 Rose Bowls.
Yes.
Or if my math is right, or something along those lines. And then to feed and clothe, primitively even, and equip and it's absurd. And to do this with a labor shortage in the middle of a war, when you could just as easily, for a cost of an 8mm or a 9mm bullet, for a nickel or something, just shoot them if you wanted to wipe them out without any of the transportation. It's absurd. Anyway,
yeah, it is very much absurd. It doesn't make any sense on examination, which is why they're trying to prevent any examination at all. And now, of course, they've got America's social media corporations are now part of the censorship. So, to enforce, you will believe what we tell you to believe, and, facts and logic be darned.
Yeah, and I'm not disputing there was a hell of a war crime, slave labor. Certainly,
yes,
that happened. Many more deaths. It was a huge war crime, but nothing like what they're talking about, and not even the same, genocide. It was slave labor, and they couldn't feed, or typhus outbreaks and all that. They couldn't feed their own people, let alone.
Yes.
By the way, you know about the Rhine Meadows camps, I'm sure, right?
Yes.
All the prisoners of war that the Western Allies, when there were millions of them, like 3 or 4 million POWs that Britain and France and the United States took in the West, that maybe as many as 1 million or 1.5 million died under our stewardship.
Yes.
When we did have the food. Yeah, and we did have the food, Mike.
Yep.
We had the food, and they put them by the Rhine so it could easily be supplied by by barge or what have you. But and talk about something that it's almost completely out of public knowledge. It's interesting, but at any rate, I just thought I'd get that in there, and we ought to do a show on it sometime, Mike, because there's some people that have called in there before. You had a guy on one before, some guy from Arizona who was very knowledgeable about this.
Yes.
So, anyways, that's just my
what we're witnessing right now is, this whole Holocaust story was put out at a time when it was very easy for governments to lie to the public and be believed. Well, those times are gone, and we're literally seeing the lies fight for their continued survival. When they start taking desperate steps like this to simply say freedom of speech no longer applies when you're, going up against the sacred revelations You know, they're scared, and ultimately, I think they're going to lose.
Norton, just like it also doesn't apply, Mike, freedom of speech, to the Nakba, which is a non-event, or
Yes.
the Liberty, for that matter. The Liberty is almost a media non-event.
Yes.
You know, what's the parallel? What are the parallels to all those, please? But at any rate, just checking in. But thanks, Mike, for the time.
All right, you got it. We're going to switch over to Steve Elkins. Steve, nice to hear from you again. What's on your mind today?
Well, just to add to what he just said, he's absolutely correct. You know, the Holocaust revisionists, they've got us demonized, that we need to believe what they tell us. And I've broken this down. My mother's German, so she was there during the war, and she could tell you the truth and the lies of what was going on at the time. But you know, if we question things, and one of the things I question, and of course it's absurd, it's complete nonsense, is the gassing, the ovens, and all that stuff. The making soap out of Jews, the
Now,
making
that one's been
lampshade out of
discredited.
somebody's face. Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous, you know. So if Germans hated Jews so much, why would they want to make soap out of them and then rub it all over their bodies? That makes no sense whatsoever. So, but that's not what I called on. Actually, but your last caller is absolutely correct. Revised Holocaust, and I'm one of those people. I'm going to call you on this. I've been laid up with this leg injury for the last couple of days, so I'm sitting here watching these hearings, and the Democrats are very unified in their attacks on Judge Barrett here. But my question to you is, Chuck Schumer has called for a boycott in the Senate of all Democrats not to show up, not to do the vote, which I thought to myself, so what? You don't show up, you don't get to vote, so what? That's not going to change the outcome on it. If the Republicans all say we're here, we're going to vote.
Well, what Schumer is trying to do, he's trying to prevent the Senate from reaching a quorum, which is the minimum number of people that have to be present to conduct business. And I mean, Schumer came on out saying that the Democrats are going to do whatever it takes to stop this from happening. And, you know, they're trying every little thing that they can. Now, there have been prior precedents where Congress has voted to lower the quorum requirement to conduct business at a time when a large number of the personnel were absent. And I think the Senate could do that again and end run around Schumer's little plan there. But they really are very desperate. And they're desperate enough where I'm hoping that Judge Barrett is wearing her Kevlar undies.
Well, I tell you, I'm been watching for the last couple of days. Today's been a really busy day there on the floor, and I'm impressed. The woman has kept her composure.
Yes.
She's talked about constitutional law. She's she's done an excellent job. She's not taken the bait. They have tried to go to an issue of a woman gets raped and she wants an abortion. They've tried to go to Roe versus Wade. They've tried every little trick in the world to trick her, and she said, you know, in my position here, I cannot give a decision on something like that. She's done everything right so far.
Yes.
And they have not found anything, unlike, you know, Kavanaugh, going after Kavanaugh and finding some woman who said he raped me 36 years ago. They can't find anything on this woman. She's got a very squeaky clean past.
Yes,
and,
she does. I mean,
they're
they're trying to make fun of her two adopted children, saying that she only did that so that she wouldn't appear to be racist. I mean, ridiculous stuff. You know, like that feminist who described her as a clown car vagina because she's had so many kids.
Yeah, and they also called her a white colonist because she adopted two Haitian children. You know, they've just got nothing. They've got nothing. And actually, you know, when somebody has their composure and is very professional, as she's been very professional now, it really points out the nastiness of the other side and the unprofessionalism of the Democrats right now and their desperate attempt to derail this. It makes them look very, very bad, the Democrats right now.
Yes.
Very bad.
Yes, it does.
That's it for me. Have a great show, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks. I wish all of America were watching these hearings. I know some people are, but of course, they're occurring during working hours for those people who still get out to work. But yeah, the Democrats are just making themselves look petty, mean, vindictive. All right, we're going to start with Joe and Nome. And Joe, I'm going to have to take you through the next commercial break. What's on your mind today?
Just a quick note. Erdogan has seized that cultural heritage of the seeds that I mentioned. All domestic seeds, originate from Eastern Turkey. Well, yeah, he's nationalized that whole claim that that they were the ones that that's part of their cultural heritage, that they had all these domestic plants and animals.
Okay, Joe, I got to
spread
put you on
throughout the
hold.
world.
Joe, I got to put you on hold.
Okay.
Stay on the line. We'll be right back.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we have been building our online store. Well, we have been focusing on bringing you the best talk show host in the country. Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we also want our listeners to have products they can use every day and in times of emergency. We have added new products each week to our store. Your support of this network, plus products at the best prices, is a win-win situation. Check out our new store. Go to our website, republicbroadcasting.org, and click on the online store located at the top of our website. Together, we can continue to grow RBN and help our listeners prepare for the future. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and click on our online store or call us.
800-724-2719, extension 3. 800-724-2719, extension 3.
The Republic Broadcasting Network late night premiere show of Red Pill Hardcore is hosted by activists that want to hear from you, the listeners. So that you can get involved in the activism, please call in at 800-313-9443 at 10 p.m. to enter the discussion. To book yourself as a guest, call our studio at 202-657-5715 or contact RBN staff. Remember, keep it real and take the red pill.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay.
Welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Joe and Nome. And Joe, you were talking about Erdogan has nationalized, I guess it's the heritage seeds in Turkey. Please pick up where you left off.
Well, I don't really know where to go with that,
Okay.
to tell you the truth. But have you heard of this business about Trump's uncle being an MIT radio propagation expert that inherited Tesla's? The FBI took Tesla's stuff when he died and gave it to Trump's uncle.
I had not heard that.
Apparently, FBI has declassified documents to that effect recently. And the claim that they're making is that Tesla was from Venus, that he was a foundling, left on...
Okay, that is really out there. All righty, well...
I know it's really out there, but I just want to say
it's
one
really
thing.
out there, Joe. It's really out there. It's, we're going to let you go. Thank you very much for the enlightening story there. And let's see, we're coming up on the top of the hour, and our guests. Message to our control room here. Getting on back to the international news here. The Trump administration is really pushing the United States into a war with Iran, and they're doing it with these ramped up sanctions that are more extreme than just about anything that's ever been applied before. Now, according to the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, Iran does not have the uranium necessary to make even one nuclear bomb. And they have been inspecting and watching, and they got cameras all over the places here. And the director of the IAEA, Rafael Grossi, basically saying that Iran is not nearing what is called breakout capability, saying they don't have enough enriched uranium. And Grossi is saying a lot is being made about breakout time, which is basically the time that it would take Iran to make a bomb once they had enough fissionable uranium. But he says they don't have it. It's just not there. And of course, Iran has said that they have no intentions of building a nuclear bomb. It's not in their interests. And everything that Iran is doing with nuclear technology is in fact allowed under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which both Iran and the United States have signed and ratified. And under that treaty, the United States is obligated to help Iran build peaceful uses of nuclear power. So the U.S. should be in there helping Iran build its power plants, which is a really good way of making sure they don't have a bomb factory hidden in the basement the way that Israel does at Dimona. All right, we're going to take a short break for station identification. And when we come on back, we're going to have Dr. Tom Cohen and Sally Morrell, authors of The Contagion Myth. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Dr. Leonard Horowitz. I was right 30 years ago in warning the world about threatening lab virus outbreaks, AIDS, and Ebola. I was right 20 years ago when FBI Director Robert Mueller made me a suspect in the anthrax mailings because I warned the Bureau before the CIA's biocrime and Cipro sales psyops happened. I was right about COVID-19 being an AIDS-laced mutagen planned to resurge this fall to excuse officials' profitable depopulation globalization agendas. And I was right about the only safeguards being antioxidants and holy spiritual sustenance. Vitamin C, D, zinc, chlorophyll, oxygen, and oxysilver especially transmits the frequency resonance to neutralize the expanded function bioweapon. Oxysilver is a double superconductor of the healing power of love. It is the first nutraceutical invented to amplify prayer power and the faithful, loving intention of your heart. Buy, try, and stockpile Oxy Silver through HealthyWorldStore.com.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And welcome back to our show, hour number 2. We're still waiting to connect with our guests, Dr. Tom Cohen and Sally Morrell. Sally is on the line. Hello, Sally. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So you, along with Dr. Tom Cohen, and apparently we're having some technical issues with his phone, are authors of a book called The Contagion Myth.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Tell us about it.
Okay. First of all, it was banned on Amazon, so I hope that piques your curiosity.
Okay.
But you can get it in other outlets. But anyway, the book is about this notion that we can pass disease from one person to another. It is a false notion. It has never been proven. And the corollary in the book, or the specific focus, is what they're calling coronavirus. And we point out that they have not isolated this virus properly. There are proper ways to isolate and purify a virus. They have not done this, let alone show that this virus causes an illness.
Okay. Well, this
And
is
you're
definitely
talking
a very
about,
unusual position, to
Yes.
take, because I remember when I was a kid, one kid shows up at the school with German measles, and the next thing you know, everybody's got it.
Yeah. Well, we do discuss these childhood illnesses, which are a type of detoxification. And of course, this is the first question people have. What about the measles? What about the chicken pox? We actually don't discuss the German measles, but we do discuss the regular measles. And if you can show us the virus for the measles, you can win a €100,000 prize. No one has been able to show that this virus exists. Strange to say, what they're calling this virus is just something put together by consensus, if you can imagine that. They really have not isolated this virus, or even if they have, shown that it causes illnesses. What happens with these childhood diseases? They are a type of childhood detoxification in the face of certain toxins or certain stages the child goes through. And there is a way of communicating this from one person to another, one child to another, and that way is called exosomes. Now, exosomes are what people call viruses. They look exactly like viruses. They act on the same receptors. But these exosomes originate in the cell. They are not coming from outside of the cell to attack the cell. They are the cell's way of creating these little boats that gobble up toxins and take them out of the cell. But at the same time, these are little, this is DNA. DNA is an antenna, okay? And it's encapsulated in a protein, and they go around in the bloodstream and they hook onto other cells, and they say, hey, this is coming. This is the time to get rid of these particular toxins. Everybody else in the block is doing it at the same time. So it is not contagious in the sense of a microorganism attacking the child or the person.
Okay, I'm glad you clarified that.
One of the ways we start this book is the 1918 flu.
Yes.
Which killed 50,000 people worldwide, and the U.S. Public Health Department really tried to show that it was contagious. They had hundreds of volunteers, sick people, cough and sneeze and breathe on well people. They even transferred the blood of sick people to well people. And there was absolutely no case where a healthy person got sick from the sick person.
Okay, now
It could not.
let's get back
It
to
could not
Camp
prove it was
Funston.
contagious.
Let's get back
Pardon
to
me?
Camp Funston and the outbreak there. Now, a lot of people have said that the outbreak at Camp Funston was the result of a botched vaccine experiment here. I understand that Dr. Cohen is now on the line as well.
Oh, good.
So, Dr. Cohen, thank you for joining us. And
yeah, it's actually Cowan, not Cohen.
I'm sorry, Cowan. Cowan, my mistake. Okay, loosen
As
that
in
on the
cow.
keyboard.
What camp is this that you're talking about?
This was a military base, Camp Funston, in the United States, which is where the misnamed Spanish flu first surfaced.
I see. I see.
Yeah.
Well, what happened, and this was worldwide, that year, 1917 and 1918, was the deployment of radio worldwide.
Okay.
And it started, these radio towers were mostly put on military bases. Now, at the time, no one could have imagined that radio waves would make people sick. So they didn't have any other explanation except contagion. But thanks to a wonderful book by Arthur Furstenberg, we now know that every time you get a new electromagnetic technology, there is a wave of sickness. And it was particularly strong in 1918.
Okay.
So what's the new technology today that's making people sick? And by the way, Dr. Cowan and I are not minimizing this sickness. It's not just a bad case of the flu. It's a very serious illness. But they have no proof that this is caused by a virus. And our premise is that this has been caused by the deployment of 5G technology, millimeter waves in large parts of the world, especially in the large cities.
Well, I'm one of those people who's very, very concerned, not about any particular frequency in the radio spectrum, but by the sum total of all the electromagnetic radiation that we're being exposed to on an ongoing basis. And I know that it has now become common practice for very powerful radio and television towers. Back in the days before cable, they were sited away from residential areas. And I know this was a big issue down in Australia, where there had been certain illnesses that kept cropping up in homes that were located right near these transmitters.
Yes, even high tension power lines can cause a lot of illnesses. So it's not just the radio waves and the electromagnetic frequencies coming from emitters. It's also what comes off the power lines.
Well, that's still an RFI emitter. It's just a very low frequency one.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
Dr. Cowan, let's hear from you for a little bit.
I'd rather you ask me a question. I don't know exactly what we're talking about here.
Well, we were talking basically about your book, The Contagion Myth, and Sally had basically laid on out that what we are being told is disease propagated by viruses and bacteria is actually the body's reaction to electromagnetic radiation, and that the what we're calling the coronavirus may actually be triggered by 5G, which is a theory that's been floating around for a while.
Correct. I mean, the point of the book really was we questioned the idea that viruses in particular, but also bacteria, are pathogens.
Okay.
And what that means is, we commonly think that viruses cause disease, which is the common definition of a pathogen. The interesting thing about that is there's a very clear and historical way of demonstrating that. And it's basically a way that has been accepted by all scientists and doctors and microbiologists for approximately 150 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it applies to bacteria and viruses. And I would also point out it applies to common sense. And it goes something like this. If you're confronted with a new disease, or I guess it could even be an old disease, and you want to know what caused it, and by the way, the idea that it might be something unseen that's contagious has been around for thousands of years, literally.
Yes.
Because it makes sense. You get sick and then somebody else gets sick in a similar way. And then you conclude that there's something that's passed between you. Now,
Well, I think
I would
right
also
there.
point,
Let me. Sorry to interrupt you. First of all, I'm going to be very honest here that I'm not confident in your conclusions. And again, getting back to that historical precedent here, there have been patterns of illness and contagion that predate the existence of electricity and radio.
That's very true, and we discuss a lot of these in the book. For example, the Black Death, which roared across Europe, from Southern Europe all the way to Iceland, said to be caused by the spread of organism through rats, and yet something that spread that way would not go so quickly. And there weren't any rats in Iceland anyway. And we talk about the fact that there was a comet at that time, obviously a very low, large comet, and comets emit electromagnetic radiation, including X-rays. And this disease wiped out whole towns. I mean, like overnight. This is not something that follows the pattern of contagion as we know it. We look at something like smallpox, which has disappeared in the Western world. And there were people at the time who said this smallpox is caused by the bites of bed bugs. And bugs and insects can have really strong toxins in their bites. And as soon as we cleaned up the beds and put screens in our windows and kept the bugs out of our houses, people didn't get smallpox anymore. So I agree with you. There are diseases long before EMF that appear to be contagious, but when you look at them carefully, it turns out there's other explanations.
So let me just flesh out what I was saying there, because I think I got interrupted here. So what I was saying is there is a very well recognized principle of how we decide that something is A, caused by a microbe, and B, is contagious. And again, I would point out that it's agreed by all scientists and doctors and virologists and microbiologists. And it goes like this. If you have a new disease, that microbe has to be present in the person with the disease, which I would say is obvious. In other words, if you have a sore throat and you think it's caused by strep, the strep should be there. So that's principle number one. Principle number two is that if you have normal people who don't have the disease, they shouldn't have the microbe. Now, principle number three, neither of those prove anything. So you have to do the third principle, which is then you take the microbe from the first sick person and you introduce it into the second not sick person, and it should cause the same disease. That's how human beings prove causation of anything. So if you say you doubt that my conclusion is correct, then the only possible way you could doubt that is if you have a scientific published paper saying we took 10 or 50 or 100 people who have the same disease and we isolated and purified either a virus or bacteria from all those people, the same disease, the same microbe. We then introduced that in an usual way, like spraying it or, exposing them to it in some way, and they got sick. And me and 14 other doctors who are looked into this can't find a single valid published paper in the medical literature that demonstrates that principle with any bacteria or virus. Now, if you know differently, I would love to see the study because we can't find it.
Well, I was thinking immediately of the HIV virus, which is attributed to AIDS, and how that was initially spread through what appears to have been a botched smallpox vaccination program.
So the fact of the matter is there is no published, identified, isolated picture of any HIV virus from any person with AIDS. And I happen to know there was a $100,000 offer to anybody who could prove in the medical literature that they isolated and purified HIV from anybody with AIDS. I also happen to know the exact way that they proved that HIV causes AIDS. And it goes like this. They took somebody who was HIV positive, and I would only point out that if you read the package insert in the HIV antibody test, it says there are 33 other conditions which are known to cause AIDS, or I'm sorry, known to be HIV positive, not cause AIDS. So in other words, we don't know what this person had. They took the blood from this person with AIDS. They didn't isolate any virus from it because that has never been done. So they were giving them something, basically a blood from a person who was sick, not having seen the virus, not having isolated a virus. It's a little bit like if you say a ping pong ball can knock down a wall, and then you put a ping pong ball in a bucket of stones and throw it at the wall, and then you conclude the ping pong ball knocked down the wall, people would think you were a lunatic because it's obviously you have no idea. So then they took this blood and they injected it into one chimpanzee. They kept the chimpanzee in a cage for 10 years. At the end of the 10 years, the chimpanzee got an opportunistic infection, which could even have been a yeast infection. And the chimpanzee was HIV positive, which again comes from at least 33 other conditions, including social isolation, it says, or having a whole lot of other medical conditions. And that was the proof that HIV causes AIDS.
Okay, Sally, do you have anything to add?
Well, we do discuss AIDS in the book and the fact that no one has been able to show this. AIDS is a breakdown of the immune system. It comes from taking drugs. It comes from a poor diet. It comes from, various lifestyle things. And there's plenty of excellent explanations for the symptoms of AIDS that don't require saying it's a virus or a bacteria.
The other thing about AIDS is that the guy who invented the PCR test, which is also known as the viral load, he was very clear. Number one, this test cannot be used to diagnose any illness. Number two, you cannot use this test to demonstrate causation by any virus. This is simply a manufacturing tool that can detect pieces of genetic material, which unless you isolate, purify, and characterize the virus, which, as I said, has never been done with HIV, and I am 100% sure of that, then there's no way to do a viral load PCR test to find a virus which you've never seen. It's exactly equivalent to if I said, there's a flying saucer over your head, and you say, Tom, how do you know? And I say, because I found a piece of metal under your chair. And you say to me, how do you know that piece of metal comes from a flying saucer? Have you ever seen a flying saucer? And I say, no. And you would say, I don't know how you could possibly know that this piece of metal could have only come from that flying saucer if you've never isolated, identified, and characterized a flying saucer. And that's exactly the situation we are with HIV. Nobody has isolated it. Nobody has purified it. Nobody has characterized it. And this is the conclusion of just about any scientist who has looked into the situation.
And the same is true for coronavirus.
The same is true for coronavirus. With the coronavirus, on page 39 of the CDC manual on testing for the coronavirus, and I don't have the quote in front of me, so I'll paraphrase, they say there are no isolates of the coronavirus available, which is
Yes, that I saw.
virology. What?
I said that I saw.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
So
been going
that
around,
means
yeah.
we don't have any coronavirus to isolate, purify, and characterize, which means you cannot do a test for a unique component of something which you've never seen.
Okay,
That
Dr.
defies
Cowan,
logic
we
and
got
common
to
sense.
take a break here. We got to take a break for some commercials, and we'll be right back.
What would you say if I told you we have a new tool that will increase production and lower maintenance costs for your meat processing company? And it would pay for itself in just 6 weeks.
When pigs fly!
The new Ease Off Model Easy 4 replaces old spring-style carcass droppers and is faster, safer, and more reliable. The Ease Off lowers or lifts 1,000 pounds to or from your rail automatically using our remote control.
Sounds expensive. Can I afford it?
Can you afford not to try the Ease Off? It installs fast with just 3 bolts in place of your current dropper. The effortless operation will reduce fatigue and injuries, speed up your line, eliminate downtime, and increase profit.
How can I order my Ease Off?
Go to easeoff.com, EAZEOFF.com, and hurry because we are offering $200 off on the new Easy 4 for a limited time. Easeoff.com. We make pigs fly. Cows too. Ease Off LLC, Summersville, Missouri, 417-932-6419.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. We'll plant 'em anywhere you like and blow up anyone. Whip this world into a frenzy, killing babies, dads, and moms. If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. If you got the money, well, we won't
Welcome
say
back
we
to our show
did.
here.
The towel.
And a reminder that Republic Broadcasting Network is in the middle of a perpetual fundraiser. We need your help to keep doing what we're doing. So as a reminder, the postal address where you can send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity, cash, is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can make a credit or debit card donation is 800-724-2719, extension 3. All right, we're talking with Dr. Tom Cowan and Sally Morrell. They are authors of a book, The Contagion Myth, whose thesis is that transmission of disease by bacteria and virus is false, and that pandemics that we've seen in the past are caused by things like 5G, cell phone towers, comets, power transmission lines, and their book has been banned by Amazon. So, Sally, would you tell us where people can find your book?
Yes, the book is very available. It's available on Barnes & Noble, including as a Nook book, and it's available on Books A Million, and it's available through Tom's website. Tom, you want to give that website?
Yeah, it's Dr. Dr. Tom, Tom Cowan, COWAN.com. So drtomcowan.com.
You know, I think we need to talk about bacteria for a moment. When they were discovered, it was immediately assumed that these tiny creatures were bad for us, that they were toxic, and we've lived through 150 years of thinking that bacteria would kill us. And Tom can tell you in his early days of his medical career, that's what they did. They basically tried to sterilize people with strong antibiotics. We now know we've had a complete paradigm shift in the last 20 years, and we now know that bacteria are essential to life, that they inhabit our bodies, our intestinal tract, our skin, everywhere, and they do important things for us. And without bacteria, we'd be dead. So we've seen this paradigm shift, and now we need to see a paradigm shift about viruses, which are not toxins, but helpful exosomes created in the cell, not attacking the cell, but created in the cell to gobble up poisons and to communicate with other cells so that we can adjust to new conditions in the environment.
Okay, well, we're coming down here to the end of the interview. Dr. Tom Cowan, is there anything else you want to add to this?
You know, one of the compelling reasons for me of getting involved in this is, so one of the questions that Sally just addressed is, how does a living organism, including a human being, adapt? So if you have a new toxin around, then we are told, or we think, that you use your genetic material to make a new enzyme that helps detoxify it. That's, for instance, one way.
Okay.
Now, if you think about it, the way that we're told this works is you have a mutation in somebody who therefore has this enzyme or this protein that allows them to deal with this new toxin. And then because that has a selective advantage, it then spreads throughout the population, and then soon everybody has this gene that allows them to make this change. But if you actually think about that, so if one person has the gene, and you think about how long that would take for the entire population, you would come to the conclusion that it would be something like 10,000 or more years. Because for them to have a child, and then generation after generation, until everybody, even in your town, is a descendant of that person. And so that's obviously nonsense, because that can't be how it works. It's too slow, and by the time you adapt, there would be a new toxin, and the whole thing is sort of ridiculous. So nature, in her wisdom, gave us a rapid communication system, and they're actually called viruses, or as Sally said, sometimes called exosomes. So in other words, if you're exposed to a toxin, we know that denatures the DNA, and that works through the water that surrounds the genetic material. The cell, the tissue, packages up that genetic material, and it then, through physical transmission and resonance, like a tree does when they're infested by beetles, it sends out signals to the rest of the trees that they should defend themselves. So that's what humans do, that's what animals do. These transmission vehicles are called viruses. Viruses then communicate and essentially insert a new piece of genetic material into its friends. And so the friends then know how to prepare for this toxin, and that allows the world to adapt. If
All
we
right, well,
have
listen.
a war on viruses, we will have a war on adaptation.
All right. The book is The Contagion Myth. It's available at places like Barnes and Noble. And Dr. Tom Cowan and Sally Morrell, thank you very much for spending time with us today. We have to take another break for commercials. We'll be back with more phone calls after these few words.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Extendovite really works. Here are some reviews from Amazon.com. Amazon customer, 5 out of 5 stars. I'm quite happy about it. This product has relieved what appears to be an angina problem, pain in the chest after climbing stairs, and short on breath. I'm quite happy about it. Dr. Sam Surreal. Good product and ingredients. Kept my blood pressure normal after mild heart attack in 2015. Switched to plant-based diet, also to reverse atherosclerosis. John Bispicos, 5 out of 5 stars. Built up my immune system. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822. Or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We have a special promotion going on at Republic Broadcasting. This is a fundraiser for Republic Broadcasting involving the Energy Cleaner. Mail me a postcard. My address is at my website at thelibertyman.com. We pick a postcard every other Thursday. When your postcard is drawn out, you get to buy an energy cleaner for $215 instead of $285, $70 discount. $200 goes to Republic Broadcasting. You also get a 10% discount on my mattress pads. So get those postcards in, put your name, your telephone number, your email address on there, and when your postcard is drawn, you get to get an energy cleaner for $215 instead of $285. Mattress pads, 10% off. Help us out at Republic Broadcasting and help yourself to get an energy cleaner at a deep discount. It's a win-win situation for everybody. We hope you can get these postcards in soon. Thank you very much.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
Welcome back to the show here. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And getting back to the international news, we were talking about how Donald Trump has really ramped up sanctions on Iran. Iran, of course, is saying that this is interfering with their obtaining food, medicine, humanitarian needs here. The IAEA has come on out and said that Iran does not have the material necessary to make a nuclear bomb. Again, it's just this maximum pressure idea So from responsiblestatecraft.org, we have this article basically where the Trump administration calls its policy toward Iran maximum pressure. But it's more properly called siege and starve, which is really what it does look like. They're trying to collapse Iran's economic life and just crash the whole place. Okay, now the United States has snuck another 20 tankers of stolen Syrian oil out of the country, according to a report. A convoy of 20 tankers pumped from wells in the U.S.-occupied region of Jazeera left Hasaka province heading toward the illegal Al-Walid border crossing between Syria and Iraq on Saturday night. And there was no other information being provided. Okay, we're going to take a phone call now from Dave in Clearwater, Florida. Hello, Dave. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Great. Hi, Michael. What's on my mind is this use of masks everywhere to stop the transmission of the coronavirus.
Yes.
I'm wondering, first of all, what your thoughts are on it, but also when the mask, the holes in the diameters of the woof and woof, the different fibers of a mask are construed and measured in micrometers or microns, which is a millionth of a meter. And at the same time, the viruses are measured in nanometers, which is like a billionth of a meter.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't it appear that it's sort of like a mosquito flying through a chain link fence?
Well, that's exactly the analogy that I use. And certainly some of these homemade masks that you've seen displayed on racks at your local market, I mean, if you hold them up, you can actually see through them. You can see the doors and the windows, and obviously they're useless. Now, were you listening to the show when I reported on this video put out by Ben Swan that is reporting on a new CDC study that shows people that are wearing the masks are more likely to come down with COVID-19 than people who don't wear the masks?
No, but one of the things that I heard was that the PRC tests that they're doing on people are very, very unreliable and have a false positive rating of somewhere in the area of 90%.
It's very high, but PCR is not a diagnostic test. It is merely a means of replicating fragments of DNA or RNA in order to have enough volume for study.
Okay. Well, I just don't think that I saw a video the other day, and it just showed that they're not even doing a very effective job at showing that the tests are real and that the tests themselves is what we're basing this whole pandemic on. The numbers are faulty, and since those numbers are faulty, we're having a faulty pandemic as a result.
Well, they've been guessing about a lot of this stuff ever since the pandemic showed up, and everybody's exploiting it for their own political agenda. I certainly hope the tests that Claire and I had were accurate because they came back negative and we're not showing any symptoms. But yeah, there have been a lot of false positives and a lot of false negatives. People are being told they don't have COVID-19 and they're basically going on out and spreading it.
Yeah, and I heard that the tests are ineffective in the fact that, we're looking for COVID-19 and the tests are registering all types of different COVID agents. So COVID 1 through 18 or what have you are actually being classified as COVID-19.
Yeah, if you have a common cold, it'll test positive for COVID-19 because that's also another coronavirus.
Right. Okay, Michael, well, thank you very much. I just wanted to hear what you had to think about that.
All right. Well, thanks an awful lot. Yeah, we're wearing masks out of politeness because we don't want to cause ripples here, but their usability, even the N95s, I mean, when I exhale and I'm wearing glasses, sunglasses, they'll fog, which tells me that air is escaping the mask without going through the filtering fabric here. All right, phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Getting on back to the news here. India is fast-tracking development and deployment of modern weapons as tensions with China tend to increase. And apparently they test-launched their subsonic Nirbhay cruise missile. Unfortunately, it was aborted after 8 minutes of flight. This is the fourth time since 2013 since this trial launch has had to be aborted on this particular weapon platform. We're going to go back to the phones to David in Boston. Hello, David. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, hey, Michael. Hey, Michael. Listen, I have proof, and I didn't listen to the interview. I'm so sick of that full man flu business, you know. But
yes,
you know, I know it's a serious thing, but so I'm not. That's not my topic. But Mike, I took a trip up country, up in your neck of the woods, all up through. We went up by way of New Hampshire. We went all the way up to northern New Hampshire, me and a buddy of mine, and we came back down via Vermont.
Okay.
And we came down. We were disappointed. We had 2 beautiful days. We left Saturday. No, we left Sunday. We had Monday, Sunday and Monday were beautiful, but the day was rainy. But it was a little bit of a disappointment. We were going to drive up to the top of Mount Greylock out in the Berkshires, the highest mountain out in western Massachusetts. You're from back here, so you know about Mount Greylock, right?
Yes.
Yeah, out of North Adams there, up in the northwest corner of Massachusetts. But we had a rainy day and everything, you know, so we didn't bother going up there. But the old man, and of course, when I refer to the old man, I'm referring to my father. But he had a lot of rough edges and everything. So you know, he was the kind of guy you call him the old man. He was a World War II veteran, and what I'm going to say, he was in the CCC. He was a pretty tough guy, you know, had a lot of rough edges, and but a very talented man. But he worked on the CCC crew that put the road up on Mount Greylock back during the Depression.
Okay.
The Civilian Conservation Corps.
Yes.
So yeah. So, but anyways, Mike, what I wanted to, you know, a little play on words, but hey, I can tell the audience, I got the proof positive, Mike, that America's undergoing a color revolution. You should have seen the color up in New Hampshire and Vermont.
Yes.
Beautiful.
It's starting here too.
Huh?
It's starting here too. We're getting the autumn colors out the window here.
Yeah. So, but anyways, hey, I stopped in for hey, you're not going to believe this, but stuff like this happens to me all the time, okay? And
yes.
I say that I call them, it's not a coincidence, it's a God incidence. And then I say that these things that happen to me, they're not odd, they're God. But you probably won't even have a hard time believing this. But so for the first time in my life, I'm in the Vermont Country Store in Western Vermont. And I'm going to give you the telephone number and the website. What a store, Mike. But so the folks can do some Christmas shopping, you know, all west and everything, get some neat stuff from back here in old New England and everything, you know. But so I'm in there on Columbus Day, and one of the neatest things I found, there was all kinds of fascinating stuff, but one of the neatest things I found, and I didn't buy it because I had to be careful with my money, you know, motels and gas and all that stuff, and then when you take a trip, but the original Boy Scouts Handbook and the original Girl Scouts Handbook, and they were published just before World War I. I believe the Boy Scouts was 1911, and the Girl Scouts was 1913. And it warmed the cockles of my heart, like the chapters just on being a good American, you know, being a good solid citizen. And I said, boy, how have times changed in the last century? How this country has changed and everything. But
yeah,
I went out of town. Can I give you the website and the telephone number of the Vermont Country Store?
Why don't you give me the website only? I don't want them to get harassed with a lot of nuisance calls here, but go ahead and give us the website.
Oh, okay, yeah. All one word, VermontCountryStore.com.
Okay. VermontCountryStore.com.
Now, this is the thing that was really a God incidence and everything. You might have a hard time believing it. Here I am, and stuff like this happens to me all the time. And I'm sure there's people out in the audience that have, you know, conscious contact with God. They call it in AA, conscious contact with God, or your higher power and all this stuff, you know. But I'm in the store on Columbus Day. The first time I've ever been in the store on Columbus Day, okay? Well, I just called I just called them. I just got off the phone with them to order some catalogs and their Christmas catalog and all that. And the lady answers the phone and she says, "Hello, you know, hi, my name is Nina. May I help you?" Nina. I said, "Oh, Nina, holy smokes." I says, I was just in your store for the first time in my life on Columbus Day, and here I get a lady answers the phone named Nina, one of Columbus's ships. And I thought that, and Mike, it gets better. I thought that was just incredible. And she laughed and she said, I suppose you won't believe it if I tell you that I have two sisters, Pinta and Maria. Can you imagine that? And she was serious.
The
Nina,
parents were fanatics.
Huh?
The parents were fanatics.
Well, yeah. You know, what's the mathematical odds of that happening? Me being in the store for the first time in my life on Columbus Day, and then I call back to get the call, and Nina answers, and her sister Maria and Pinta and everything.
It's a long shot. It's a long shot. You should be buying lottery tickets.
Yeah. So listen, on a more serious note, and I'll pick this up later on in the week and everything, my continuation of the FBI and the whole Whitey Bulger thing and John Zip Conway, the corrupt FBI in Boston, all that, you know, I continue that litany about the FBI. But listen, Mike, I came up with a couple of things, and then I'll let you go. It's been revealed to me what the FBI stands for. Everybody has been brainwashed into believing it's the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Mike. But you know what? It's been revealed to me, Mike, that what the FBI really stands for is full of baloney investigation.
Yes. I like that.
FBI, full of baloney investigation. Okay? And then I'll leave you with this one. I came up with this one. It's been revealed to me now that august body, that venerable august body of jurisprudence, that commonly known as the United States Supreme Court. It's, you know, Mike, it's been revealed to me that everyone thinks it's the United States Supreme Court, but it's really the Ruth Bader Meinhof gang. It's the Ruth Bader Meinhof gang. The Ruth Bader Meinhof, the Red Brigade, are still, they haven't died out, the Red Brigade, the Ruth Bader Meinhof gang. People think it's the Supreme Court, but let me tell you, it's the Ruth Bader Meinhof gang. Okay?
Okay.
But I'll pick this up on another call, Mike. But remember, the FBI is full of baloney investigation. All their investigations are full of baloney. Okay? Full of baloney in the FBI. Right? Does that make sense?
It does make sense, especially given my own experience with them back in 1994. All right. Well, thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to let you go and go to Nancy in Ohio. Hello, Nancy. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Thank you for taking my call. I want to talk about Amy Coney Barrett.
Yes.
Chuck Baldwin has an article out about Amy and how she is pro-vax, pro-max. She is a globalist. She has voted, 95% has voted for the government. Her father was a corporate lawyer for Shell. She has adopted 2 Haitian children, black children. To me, she's a social justice warrior. Why didn't she adopt 2 white children from America? She has 5 of her own. One is a special needs. I'm asking why she even needed 2 more. I don't like the looks of it. She was the only candidate that was pro-mask and pro-vax. So why was she picked?
Well, you'd have to ask President Trump about that.
Well, everybody's out there, all the Trumpers. I voted for Trump, but I don't agree with everything that he does. And they want to make a big deal about her religion, you know, comparing her with other religions, blah, blah, blah. I think we need to look at what she's really done. You know, how can she take care of 7 children and be a Supreme Court judge? How can she even do the job she's doing now?
Well, obviously, if she's appointed to the Supreme Court, she's going to be quitting her position on the Court of Appeals. And as far as being a mother of 7 children, certainly it would be a first, you know, for a mother with a family to be serving on the Supreme Court. But watching her today during the hearings, and she's speaking right now, as a matter of fact, she strikes me as very capable and competent. And I'm very impressed with her and how she keeps her cool.
Well, if she has 7 children, she obviously has to have help. And I don't know how that she can give them all the needs, meet all their needs, and still do this job.
Well, I imagine that her husband, is stepping in to take up some of the load here. I have a family member where the wife is a full-time career, and the husband is basically a house husband, and it's worked out very well for them.
Well, that might be true for your family, but what about this family? What do we know
I'm saying
about
we shouldn't rule out the fact that they're able to make it work.
Well, we don't know what they're doing.
That's
we
right.
Don't know what Amy Garrett is doing. So I'm not for her. Here we are in the time that they want to mandate a vax, and they're wanting to mandate this mask, and the masks are proving that they're not healthy.
Nope.
So. And
I would definitely suggest you look at that Ben Swan video on the front page of what really happened.
And what does that say, Mike?
Oh, you must have missed the earlier part of the show. Basically, he's reporting on the CDC report that you're more likely to get COVID-19 wearing a mask than not. And I'll let you go get the rest because we have to take a break for commercials. Thank you for the phone call, Nancy. We'll be back with the last segment of our program after these few words.
Is your property a financial burden and causing you grief? Have you tried to sell but can't find buyers? Or are you just too busy to sell your property? Don't worry, we have the right solution for you. We buy properties as is, with cash, close in 30 days, and pay all closing costs. Our service is ideal for property owners who are in pre-foreclosure, have high-end repair costs, experiencing financial hardship, going through costly divorces, are relocating, need cash for retirement, suffering family loss, or have tax liens. Whatever your situation may be, we can help you sell your property and get the money you need. If you own a single-family home or multiple family units, call us for a free consultation at 888-910-1037. That's 888-910-1037. Or visit our website at cashingproperty.com. That's cashingproperty.com. Sell your property fast and leave all your worries behind.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Extendovite really works. Here are some reviews from Amazon.com. Amazon customer, 5 out of 5 stars. I'm quite happy about it. This product has relieved what appears to be an angina problem, pain in the chest after climbing stairs, and short on breath. I'm quite happy about it. Dr. Sam Surreal. Good product and ingredients. Kept my blood pressure normal after mild heart attack in 2015. Switched to plant-based diet also to reverse atherosclerosis. John Bispicos, 5 out of 5 stars. Built up my immune system. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
The Republic Broadcasting Network late night premiere show of Red Pill Hardcore is hosted by activists that want to hear from you, the listeners. So that you can get involved in the activism, please call in at 800-313-9443 at 10 p.m. to enter the discussion. To book yourself as a guest, call our studio at 202-657-5715 or contact RBN staff. Remember, keep it real and take the red pill.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what really happened?
Welcome back to our show here, last segment of our program today, and we're going to go back to the phones to Rick in Arizona. Hello, Rick. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. What's on my mind is I think we need a little more effort on educating the Americans that what we're really doing is quarantining and isolating hatred. This is a battle of the 1% that's concerned that we've been saturated with too much information on the internet over the last 20 years.
Yes.
And that is the awakening that always precedes a revolution. And I'm totally convinced that our masks, our muzzles, they don't want us to talk to each other. They basically shut down the schools, the colleges, because the internet is basically, the schools and the colleges are basically an extension of the internet now. And what you can see on the internet that has to do with the people you can't criticize is basically, they just want to keep everybody from red pilling anybody else in school. And I see, like I said, really, the only thing I can say is I still say that Trump is behind this. And he's being very well portrayed as the victim by the mass media, who is the machine that delivers the message to put on your mask and stay scared. I think that Trump will be reelected. I mean, gas is cheap. You can still get a job. But in the end, I think he's going to sting you after he gets back.
Well, I supported him in 2016, and he turned out to be a huge disappointment. But I'm supporting him again only because I can't stand Biden and Harris.
Well, Laura Loomer said this yesterday on the Alex Jones show. Alex Jones, I gave her $2,800 live on the show. He didn't give any Christians money for Congress, but he gave Laura Loomer. But Laura Loomer said that the Democrat Party is the Jew-hating party and the Israel-hating party. Okay. And when Trump, Trump took away humanitarian aid from the Palestinians. So I don't see why you would even throw a switch for Trump. I would suggest that you just don't vote at all. Anyhow.
Well, I'm sure if you don't, that somebody will vote on your behalf. I mean, this is definitely going to be the crookedest election in U.S. history. And again, I point the finger of blame at Donald Trump, who had the authority and the means to clean up our election system. And if the election is stolen from him this November, he only has himself to blame. Rick, are you there? Okay, I guess we lost him. Mars is at opposition right now, the closest that it will be in, for the next 15 years here. So if you've got a telescope, might be a chance to go on out and take a look at it. And do you remember SpaceX's Starman and Elon Musk's Tesla that were the test load that was launched on the Falcon Heavy rocket test in 2018? It is now flying past Mars. So I'm sure it doesn't look as neat and spiffy and shiny as it did back then, but still in all, well done, Elon Musk. All right, there's the music. Time for me to get out of here. Stay tuned for John Stedmiller. I'm sure he's got lots and lots of interesting things to share with you. Please spread the word of Republic Broadcasting. Please spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate. We need your help to stay doing what we're doing. We'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.